Hello to those of you who are online. Let us know that you're here by putting a comment in the chat. And if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the chat as well. We'll do our best to answer those. So we thank you for joining us if you are here with us. And yeah, again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And otherwise, you can just put your names in and say hello. We are super grateful to have you. And thanks to Elder Claire Gillespie for streamlining this live stream experience. Okay, everybody, welcome and good morning. We are going to start our town hall. And so we'll begin with a word of prayer. Holy God, every day is a gift. And to look back on a good and faithful year and look ahead to the year to come is a great gift indeed. We thank you for your constant presence with us. We thank you for the ways that you help us to grow and for the ways that you care for us when we are in need. We ask that you bless this presentation and the conversation that we will have, and that you bless our coming year. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, I want to thank Amy, who it's her first time doing AV today, and she's jumping in on a crazy day. So whenever I say next, if you could just hit the next slide. So next. All right. So we are going to start off our talk, which will take, I guess, about an hour, and we'll start off with some of the highlights of the last year. We're going to zoom in on the dreams and visions recommendations that have been worked on through the past year, and then the recommendations passed by the session, and kind of what that looks like in the coming year. And then we'll have about 15 minutes of that hour for Q&A. So first, a huge, wonderful thing happened. We have a full staff this year. I know. We have Zoe, who has celebrated her more than 1 year. She started last June, and so she has been a wonderful addition as the Washington Seminar Center Director. Office Manager Stacy Brophy was finally made a permanent and not an emergency employee after she joined during COVID, and after several years, we thought this is no longer an emergency. She is a wonderful and essential employee, so we are grateful to have her continuing on our staff as our office manager. Katrina is coming up on a decade of service here. And I know all of us are grateful for her ministry here every single day. And we have most recently hired Maurice Lane as our property and facilities manager this past July. This is sort of a new expanded position that he is growing into well. He's coming for the service and for the potluck after church. So you'll have an opportunity to meet him, and we will be commissioning him in the service as well. So we have a full staff, which is really exciting, especially because of the space use things that we're doing, expanded use of the building, the fact that David Hughes is no longer the facilities elder, and it's really nice to have a really good team. And so if you haven't met any of these folks, I do encourage you to stop by during the week. Stacy's here on Mondays and Fridays. Zoe's here in the mornings. Maurice is here in the mornings. Katrina is here whenever she needs to be. And so please do make that known. Yeah, I know.
Which woman is which?
Oh, sure. This is Katrina. No, I'm just kidding. This is Zoe Pagley, and that is Stacy Brophy. Yes. Stacy is mostly remote, so you will probably have interacted with her via email. She sends out all of the life links and email correspondence. She makes the bulletins. She is in charge of all sort of admin business. She keeps us running as smoothly as we can. Yes, thank you for asking. We're also, of course, grateful to have Robert here on Sundays still. He did retire, but we invited him back as a contract worker for Sundays. And so we do appreciate and continue to have him on Sunday mornings. I'm pretty sure he's setting up for the potluck right now. So we are very grateful to have him continue on in that special way. Next. There we go. There were 4 babies that were born this year. It was really exciting. So we have baby Winnie and baby Chrysanthi, baby Williams, and baby Caroline. And I just think that's so special to have babies born in the congregation, and so many of them. And they're all so cute and little. So that is something I think we can celebrate, the addition of new little ones into the life of this church. You hit next. We added 12 new members this year. Some of them are here. I'm looking at you guys. Yeah, I'm seeing you guys. And that has been wonderful. It's a lovely thing to have a congregation that is growing. We did say goodbye to some folks. Dylan flew off on his new job, and we miss Lisa and her family as they moved to Colorado. Gordon moved to Florida. We are saying goodbye to Lee today. This is her last Sunday. But all in all, the congregational membership has stayed about steady at about 120 people. So that is where we are at for our membership this year. We will be having a membership information brunch in October that will be in the bulletin next week. But yes, if there are people who are interested, or if you know people who've been coming but aren't members, that would be a great thing to suggest to them. But yes, it was exciting to welcome 12 new members this year. You can hit next. We have Sunday school that continues to grow. This is really wonderful. Our kids right now we have a big crop of kids that are basically like 4th to 6th grade, which is exciting. There's going to be discussion of whether or not we do confirmation this year. We're going to continue with our encounter program, where we invite members of the congregation and community to come in and talk to the kids about their job, or a thing that they love, a passion, or an aspect of their lives. So how many of you guys have done encounters? We got 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to increase that number, guys. Encounters are wonderful. Here you see Fred taking the kids to look at the record books in the safe below us when we did a day on finance. So don't think that your topic is not interesting to children, because money is very interesting to children. But whatever it is, if you have a boat, if you ride horses, if you read poetry, if you like magazine subscriptions, whatever it is, if you can think of anything in your life that you are passionate about, it could be who's a Nats fan here. Okay, we can make that work. What it is statistically is studies have shown that the more that kids interact with people in church that aren't their parents or their pastor, the stronger their faith is as they grow into adulthood. So this is pedagogically really valuable. It also gives the teachers, Jen and Jill and Leo, more to work with. It also helps you guys practice talking out loud about what you love, which is an important thing for adults to do as they grow in faith. So this is a wonderful opportunity. Bob Dylan, I know we can make it work. I know we can. Awesome shoes, I know we can make it work. So I would love to have you guys come, just send me an email. Hey, I have this, what can we do? Because we can make it work, and you will have as much fun as the kids, I guarantee it. One other highlight from Sunday school is that this was the first year that the kids did a youth Sunday, a service run entirely by the children. And it was lovely. It was a wonderful success. It was heartwarming, and we're looking forward to doing that again. So that was another highlight. We also have adults who do Sunday school as well. We had an Esther Bible study in the fall. We went through, I think, at least 3 or 4 books in the adult Sunday morning book study. And so we had a lot of opportunities. A big highlight this year was the theology potluck. And we'll be definitely scheduling another one of those this year, because that was quite lovely. So a lot of good Christian education this year, and we are looking forward to what's coming up next year. All right, can you hit the next button? People went out into the world. This was another year where a mission trip was restarted. We hadn't done one since I've been here, and probably not since COVID. But Brandon and others organized a mission trip to Virginia, a place near Massanutten Springs, where they painted. You guys tell me. You painted. You built ramps. You prepared ramps. Food pantry. And yeah, like I'd say, a dozen folks got out there for the weekend, and it sounded like a lot of fun. And you did a lot of good work. And I'm excited to announce that this has already been scheduled again for June of next year. So it will be, is Beth here? I don't see her. So we'll get the dates on those, but that has already been scheduled once again for June. So we are hoping for another wonderful trip. And for those of you who've been, make sure to share your experience with other folks, because that is going to be a great opportunity, and it's open even to all ages and abilities to hold a power tool. Why don't you hit the next one? We also went out into the world in different ways. We had some young adult gatherings. A couple of folks marched in the Pride Parade with the Presbytery. There's a Ukraine bake sale, and we had an all-church retreat. That was another thing that was brought back this year. So that was, all of those are wonderful experiences where CHPC gets out of this building and goes out into the world. So we look forward to the other opportunities that will happen this year. Yes, next. Yes. We also have the next thing, a Starbucks run. Yes, essential for the choir. We also have this year, we had a great session, and half of that session rotated off in July. So we have, out of 10, 5 new session members, 4 of which were ordained, so they'd never served before. So we are in a time, this is an exciting time where our session is very new. Only 2 or 3 of the elders are heading up the same ministry that they did last year. So this is kind of a year of opportunity. People are asking fresh questions. They're certainly relying on the folks who have come before them, but this is definitely, this is a year for learning and growth. So I do hope that you reach out to your elders. Most of the time, if we've got space in the bulletin, we do list who is an elder. And so please do take the time to meet your elders. We've got Cameron here, who is the Hospitality Outreach Chair. Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna panic because I'm looking through. Amy is our Education Chair. We've got Mike, our Finance Chair. Claudia with Personnel. We got Chantal, who is our new Facilities Chair, which is excellent. And of course, Marisa stays as our gracious clerk, keeping me decent and in order as much as she can. We also commissioned ACOLYTES, which was very exciting and ambitious, and then our ceiling fell down. So we paused on that, but I did want to celebrate that, and as we will bring that back when we do return to the sanctuary. So that was an exciting moment this year. You can hit the next one. A big highlight happened right in this room in the spring, and that was the Spring Fling that was supporting migrants and refugees. Many of you attended. Certainly all of you were recipients of able to enjoy this beautifully decorated room. It saved us on Easter, of course, when we had to worship in here. It made it so beautiful. And we raised over $10,000. We also brought in over 100 people into this room, many of them not church members, not CHPC members, just folks coming together to make a difference. And so that was a real success. I once again thank Mike and Katrina and the choir, of course, Adrian. Now I'm going to just list a bunch of names and I'm going to leave somebody out. But the stewardship committee worked tirelessly on this, and it paid off. So it was a wonderful event and made a huge difference to the migrant and refugee networks that I'm going to hang on to this one for just a second, Amy, that we support. And I want to just pause because there were other, I didn't put pictures of the families, but there were other migrants that we did support throughout the year. There was pretty much immediately after the spring fling, a family came to the church door, 2 women and 6 children under the age of 10, who said, we have no place to go. And the church quickly jumped into action, and we were able to, because of a vacancy in the seminar center, house these folks for 2 weeks. And now they are back on their feet, actually ended up in Texas and the sort of the Southwest. And that made a huge pivotal difference in these folks' lives who were sleeping on the ground because the city had no place for them. So that was this church. And then earlier in the August before, the church also housed migrants as the city was trying to figure out what to do with the busing crisis. And so twice in the last 12 months, this church has opened its doors in the ways that it can. And it's not easy. Like, it was strategically difficult. It took a lot of effort and a lot of decision making. But this church said, what do we need to do? And stepped up with clothing donations, with food donations, with money, with time, certainly with prayer. And that did make a huge difference. So I just want to thank you guys. I know that weeks kind of go on week after week and we might forget, but that is a big deal. And this church said yes to opening its heart in these systematic ways, but also in these very particular ways. So I thank you for that, and for the continued work that's being done across the way at the Methodist Church and the Church of Brethren. So there are still many opportunities for us to serve the migrants and the refugees that are in our midst. Next. The sky is falling. I don't know if you guys remember, but the ceiling kind of cracked in March, the week before Easter. So I just want to give a little update on that. The ceiling repair we've discovered is more extensive than we initially thought. Yes, that's right. And so the decision has been made to not just do the ceiling, but also the cove area, this sort of curved part of the top of the wall where the wall meets the ceiling, because there is likely extensive plaster damage there as well. So that is a prudent move that Session has decided to make. It will extend the work about 3 weeks, but we are still going to be in the sanctuary in October, I think. Our new return date was going to be the 8th of October, but now it will be October 29th, which we will observe All Saints Day. So if that works out, that will be a lovely return to the sanctuary. That was another highlight from this past year, All Saints Day, where we celebrated those who have come before us. And so the plan, the optimistic plan, is to celebrate All Saints Day in the sanctuary after we return from this. Another exciting thing from the ceiling is the work that they're doing up there. They found original paint colors, they've found original designs, and so that is something that's really exciting, and that the historical architect that's consulting with us is bringing to us. And so there's some silver linings coming out of this. We're gonna be able to see what some of the original paint looked like. Let's see about that. Oh, yes. I know that there have been questions and certainly very generous donations for our ceiling fund. I don't have the exact hot numbers, but we are around $35,000 raised of our $50,000 goal for the ceiling fund. Today is the last day for that fund. So if you were holding out, today's the day. There will be opportunities in the service to collect that. There's information, a link, and how to give in your bulletin. So many people have given already, been very generous, and that has been wonderful. With this extended cost, with this extended work, we don't have to, it's not going to be that much more expensive on the bottom line for the ceiling work, but we do appreciate your gifts, and every dollar does count on this. So let me see. Yes, so yeah, so you can hit next. Yeah, so we are getting some repairs. Here's a picture of some of the original paint. I'll get some more of those to be shared in life links in the coming week. But it's kind of a fun opportunity for discovery. So you can click next on that. All right, so if that wasn't enough, this past year, we also undertook an ambitious Dreams and Visions campaign to assess where the congregation is, who it is, and where it's going. The Dreams and Visions team that was chaired by Chris Smith, who is here today, and had Lee and Cameron and Clara and Adrian and me. Okay, good. Yes. And so that was a wonderful initiative. We took the church assessment tool. It was a big church survey called the CAT survey, the CAT scan, that gave us sort of a mirror. It reflected back our values and our motivations to us. We used that information to then have 2 visioning worship services, where in the worship service we paused. This is a picture from the worship service. We broke into groups and we really prayed and discussed where we felt we were being called and how we've seen God in our lives at CHPC. The Dreams and Visions Committee then made recommendations to the session, and a big chunk of this, what's coming next, is going to be bringing you guys up to speed on what those recommendations were that were accepted by the session, and that is going to lead us and guide us in our coming year. So you can hit next. All right, so some of this is, a little bit up. Some of this is review, but not all of you were in weekly meetings for the last year on this, so repetition is good. The CAT scan results showed 4 key drivers for the church. Opportunities for learning and spiritual formation, particularly those that fit a complex lifestyle. We have some folks who are streaming online. We have some folks who, whose jobs take them in and out of the country. There's folks who are coming at all levels, and so that is a key driver. An atmosphere of genuine care and concern for the congregation was another driver. And then enlarging and improving the physical facilities of the church to expand or enhance our ministries was a driver. The phrase bathroom improvement was thrown around a lot, but also questions about revamping the WSC, thinking about how our building can serve our ministries in the church. That was another thing that arose. And developing the spiritual generosity of the people to financially support the ministry of the church. Those were the 4 stated goals that came from the results of the survey. All right, and through that, and through the visioning conversations, the Dreams and Visions Task Force identified 4 CHPC values: open heart, spiritual growth, community, and valuing all. These things came from all of the recording of all of the group sessions. It came from the results of the survey. It came from extensive discussions with the session and discernment within the Dreams and Visions Task Force itself. And so these 4 CHPC values were approved by the session this summer as things that are true reflections of who we are. And so these are going to be things that we will talk about through this year. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be preaching on each of these themes, starting with open heart, and we will go from there. And these things are going to be paired with the actions that we take. So if you want to hit the next one. There were also several recommendations, explicit recommendations offered by Dreams and Visions, and here are the ones that were adopted by the session. One is addressing spiritual growth, to do a 1-year pilot where we think about what spiritual growth means for this congregation. And this will be mainly through the Education Committee, but you'll see it'll touch on other committees as well. The Education Committee will ask, why do you come to church? How would you like to grow? And how can CHPC help folks meet their growth goals? So this is a way for us, again, like doing an encounter, helps us to articulate where we are individually, where we are as a church, and where we'd like to grow in our faith. Nobody here has to be a Bible expert. Nobody here, there's not a level of expertise in faith in order for you to join. You must be this faithful in order to ride. It's you come as you are, right? You come as you are. But we know that this is a curious congregation, a congregation that does want to grow and learn. And so articulating how we want to do that is a big step in making that in actualizing that. Next. And so this is just a little bit of a detail here. The committee would get answers at membership information brunch. So this would touch on hospitality. They'd get answers at theology potlucks and other events. We'd be intentional about asking this question over and over again. One of my favorite ideas, which is why I'm including it here, is at the stewardship campaign. Maybe we make a pledge. I would like to grow in the following way in this year. So that you're not only doing it for yourself, but we're able to help each other out and then check back in. How did you make that goal? Again, we're not grading anybody, but it's an opportunity for us to take another step and to make that more real. And the committee would use the answers to these questions to inform class content and format, to connect people with other ministries, because education does not just happen in Sunday school. I'm pretty sure people learned and grew in their faith on the mission trip. Pretty sure people learned and grew in their faith on the church retreat, when they're sorting clothes. Those are all opportunities for Christian formation. And we need to bring that out and make that explicit. Next. The next recommendation adopted by the session was to commission a digital task force. This is to improve our worship streaming service quality and interruptions. We have Katrina works very hard, Brenda works very hard and the AV team works very hard to make sure that this is a good experience for folks who are streaming. But it is a lot of work, and it's not obvious how to go forward in a way that enhances the worship experience. Hybrid meetings, how we do Bible study, how we do session meetings. These are questions that this task force is going to address so that we're not last minute, trying to, there've been some session meetings where we're passing around a cell phone because somebody is remote. This task force will help us to think that through intentionally. We don't have a lot of social media presence. And so that's something that Cameron is going to take on as well and think through. Realm is what we use as our giving and our database, and there are challenges with that. And so thinking that through. So there's a year, and you can hit next. There's a year to talk about the digital task force. That'll be Elder Claire Gillespie is going to be in charge of the overall experience. She is a remote elder. She lives mostly on the West Coast at this point. And so she's got a firsthand experience in the virtual experience. And social strategy and style is Elder Cameron Anders. And then the hardware to make it happen, we would love to have a third person on this team. Because we probably need somebody to help us figure out what to purchase, how to make these things a reality. So that is the second recommendation. The third recommendation falls under the valuing all, and it's a community engagement exercise that where we're inviting the presbytery to train a group of people who's interested on how to listen to our community and see what its needs are. So it's not so much going out and saying what all the great things that we have inside here, which we do, but it's going out and having conversations with the schools and the ANC, and with other community members, and just really listening to them so that we can have a sense of who our neighbors are and what their needs are, and have that color how we go out into the community. So that is another recommendation that was adopted by the session. You can hit next. And then a big one that is still being explored is a new vision for the building and its mission. Session is exploring this at the upcoming meeting. Again, part of the reason for this is we had that whole big changeover on session in the summer. And so the folks that were working on this up until then, we just had a lot of new session members come in. And so it's very prudently, we are taking our time on thinking through what exactly, how exactly we want to take a next step. And so that, but I did want to list that it is not, there's not an adopted recommendation so far, but the session is engaging in this conversation on how we move forward in order to bring the building, help the building to match what our vision and mission is for the church. So that is that. And so again, we're going to be using these 4 values throughout the church year. Words can just end up on pages. And so this is going to be something that is going to be talked about explicitly. You know, what value are we lifting up here? What value or values are we lifting up when we get together for an event? How is this affecting your committee work? Are there things that fall outside of these 4 values that maybe that means we don't do that, we don't have that opportunity? It helps us to, again, focus and concentrate who we are and where we are called. Again, so these are our 4 values that we will be lifting up. All right, next. And new this fall, we have 2 Bible studies that are going to be on Sunday and Wednesday mornings. Sunday will begin this coming Sunday, and it will be Zechariah, and that will run through the fall, I believe. I'm going to begin a Wednesday morning Bible study that will follow up. We'll be studying the text that will be preached on Sunday. So I'm really excited about this. I have not done a Bible study since I've been here. That used to be all I did back in my old church. So it's like I'm in a desert, and I'm excited because I'm almost to the stream. So I hope that you can make it. Right now, I'm thinking it's only in person. But if there is, we've got a digital task force now. So we hope that those 2 opportunities will give you an opportunity to be able to engage in scripture in that way. If they're not, I would love to talk to you about starting another Bible study. There's tons of guides. It's the kind of thing that it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a desire. So if you have it on your heart to do a Bible study, maybe you don't feel like an expert, I can help you out with that. I would love to see as many people engaged in scripture. All you need is a couple of people and a guide, and Jesus. And yes, we will make sure that all those things are assembled. So let me know if you have that on your heart. The community engagement exercise, as I said, is upcoming. I haven't heard back from the presbytery on that, which is why I don't have a date for it, but it should be coming up shortly. We've got our spiritual growth pledge upcoming in stewardship season. We're working on a building vision. We have a membership information brunch. A lot of people like to know about what CHPC is. Some people don't necessarily join. So that's why that's called a membership information brunch as opposed to a new member brunch. There's no obligation to join. But those are wonderful opportunities on Saturday mornings to get to know folks. It's usually Cameron and Alex and I, so the hospitality outreach team and me, and then some bagels and new members. If you would like to, if you're already a member, but you like the experience of a membership information brunch, you can just be the member that comes and tells people about what church is like. So you too could be eating bagels and talking about theology with me on October 14th. So that is totally open if you guys want to do that. Just let me or Cameron know. And it is one of my favorite things. And then we also will be returning to the sanctuary this fall. That is what we are going to be doing. I'm stating it here. Okay. So we've done a lot this year. We've dreamed, we've weathered the ceiling, we've welcomed migrants, we restarted the retreat, we restarted a mission trip, had our first youth Sunday, brought back the spring fling. I mean, this church has been going at a clip. And for a point where, come on in, at a point where we didn't have full staff until recently. And so the church is doing really well. It's super resilient. It's super positive. You guys show up. And it's really a wonderful thing. I mean, this community is really special. I think you guys know that. And I think the folks who have joined this year know that. I know the folks who have left miss this community. So I want us to feel good. I also want to acknowledge that it was a big year. And a lot of people have done a lot of work, and some are tired. And the pace is high. The pace is quick. And, I learned a lot doing that Sabbath series this summer. I know you guys did. But I think it is important for us to be a little slower, more intentional this year. So I would love for us to adopt that with having an open heart, with building community, valuing all, and growing spiritually. Let's do that at a pace that we can survive. Annie's laughing because she's been there. Yes, I know that some of you do AV and greet and also count and do coffee hour all in one Sunday. Or I know folks that are just doing so much. Our elders do so much. Many of you take on a great amount of weight, and that has enabled us to do lots. But I also want us to acknowledge that we can take a livable pace. All right. I know I am not the most patient person. Chris reminded me of that every day when we were in the dreams and visions, and I was like, "We're done, right? We're done dreaming. We got the vision." And he was like, "Nope, you got to keep discerning." And I appreciate that, and I thank him for that. So I know that is not my spiritual gift. However, I do want to acknowledge that out loud here at this meeting that we can pause. We can reflect. I'd like this year to be a reflection on the values that we have articulated. I want you to think, do some introspection. Where would I like to grow? How are these values in my life and in my church life? What are the ways that we can really bring these values to the fore and to strengthen what we're doing? Because we're going to be doing a very big thing shortly, imminently. Like a thief in the night, the capital campaign will come. And we don't have a timeline for that yet, but it is going to be a big project, and we need to be ready. We need to be practicing these values. We need to be, I would say, adopting a posture of waiting, so kind of discerning and listening, thinking about who we are, and working, because coffee hour is going to coffee hour. We're going to have to do the work. We're going to have to do the counting. We're going to have to do the personnel, the work of the committees, and worship, because that's what this church is here for. We're here to gather and experience the presence of God. That's why you guys are here. And so while we have a lot of these big things coming imminently, and there is a lot of work already happening and a lot of work that's going to happen, Jesus is Lord. Just want us to remember that, all right? And our work here is done in light of that we are saved and loved children of God. And so we start from there, from a place of rest and assurance, and then we move forward. So I'm going to remind myself of that this year. I'm sure I would be happy to have you guys remind me of that, and I will do my best to remind the congregation as well. Ooh. Hey, it's taking a break. Because what we do is good. What we do is very good. And so that's what our year is going to look like. We don't quite know all of the contours of the next 12 months. We don't know how some of these things will play out, but we do know who we are. The CAT scan said, showed you what you told me, which was that we're highly energized, we're highly satisfied, and that we have good work to do. And so I want us to think about these values this year, to reflect on how they are in your lives as we work together. So that is my presentation, and I would love to hear any of your questions. Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what time the Ordination Bible study will be?
Yes. I think 11. It's in the bulletin.
Okay.
Yes, my Bible study will be at 11 a.m. In the library, I think, or somewhere in the fellowship hall, somewhere on this floor. Yeah.
In light of the ceiling repairs that were obviously unexpected, are we thinking as long as just a reset for the capital campaign and those expectations? I know there's a lot of work we would all like to be done, but there's a massive investment out there. So I'm just curious about your sort of overall thoughts on that. I know you said, yes, it will start somewhat imminently, but are we trying to rethink that given what we're having to invest in?
That's a good question. I would first say that the session is still discussing the answer to that question. I think it's definitely prudent to before we do anything, to assess where we are, what's our capacity financially, just with energy-wise of the congregation, and think strategically about what are the key things. What are the key things that are important to this congregation and that will make an impact and a difference to be able to enable our ministries? So, is it going to be like soup to nuts kind of an overhaul, or is it going to be more strategic? At this point, I would, again, I'm not speaking for the session, and Marisa can tell me, Marisa, you can't tell me I'm out of order here, but I would say strategy is definitely the thing, but not. I don't think anybody's afraid. I don't think anybody's. I think everybody's still feeling confident and interested and curious about what we can do. So I guess I am speaking for the session a little bit. Yeah. Yes, Amos.
Thank you, Pastor, for the wonderful presentation. I was not aware that the contribution towards the ceiling expenses is expiring today. Is there a way in which you can be extended next week?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely, Amos. Yes. Yes. Well, we don't want to crowd the stewardship campaign, which will start in November. We absolutely will take your money for the ceiling at any time. Yes. Thank you for the clarification. Yes, absolutely. Just put ceiling on your check, or there is a link available in the bulletin. That link will remain live for the foreseeable future. Thank you, Amos. Yes. Yes, item A.
The last congregation directory that I'm aware of in physical form was in 2019. Is it available elsewhere, or is there any plan to actually put something out? Because we have so many new people.
Yes, it's very exciting. So a directory went out via email in the spring via lifelinks, or I think it was just a special email to congregants. So if you did not receive that, that needs to be corrected. If you could send me an email, CC Stacy and Cameron.
But what about people people who have joined since then.
Yeah, and Cameron, item A is asking about the directory, and because we have so many new members, we would like to make sure we get an updated directory shortly.
So we're in the works of going.
Hello, everyone. So thank you, Ida May, for pointing that out. So we are currently in the process of kind of going through, because there are a lot of new people, both that have joined and also that are attending more regularly again, especially kind of as we're coming out of COVID. Fingers crossed that we stay kind of out of COVID. So we're working on making sure that we have all the up-to-date information, and then we'll try to be sending out an update on that shortly. But like she said, we can also just print you off the one that we have as well.
Yeah, Chris.
One thing that's probably worth mentioning is another big deal that happened here in recent times was selling grants.
Yes.
And in response to the comment about, capital campaign, et cetera, part of that is the seed corn for that exercise. And we also, through the leadership of people like Ida May and those that came before us, had a nice chunk of money in the bank to pay for the ceiling. So we're starting from, because of the good stewardship of many people, we're starting from a very strong position to go into everything well.
Yes, so let me just repeat a little bit of what Chris said. Because we have folks who joined in the last 12 months, the summer prior to this, we sold the manse, a house a few blocks down that was traditionally the house for the pastor. And that money was able to fund, 500,000 of that was set aside as a capital campaign fund for this future project as it is discerned. Another aspect of that, which I neglected to mention, was to be able to support my transition from being a temporary supply pastor, which is my status now, because of I was hired on a temporary 2-year status, in order to become an installed pastor, which has greater costs associated with it. So that money is available both for the capital campaign and also to be able to support the increased costs of a change status, which I'm hoping will be happening in the next 3 months, going from uninstalled to installed. It's a magical process of the presbytery. So as Chris said, we, and because of the investment committee and the work that was done with them, the very strong response of pledging and elsewhere, we were in a position to weather the ceiling cost. It was a big chunk taken out of our finances, but we were able to do it. And because of wise investments, we were able to sort of absorb the additional cost of working on the cove as well in the ceiling. And we are not having to touch much of the capital campaign fund in order to fund this. Just to get in the weeds a little bit, the session considers the ceiling as a investment in the church, and as that it would be part of the capital campaign umbrella. And so when we needed that money, a piece of that was funded by the capital campaign. But we were able to do that because of a good market, wise investments, and the stewardship of our finances. So yes, thank you, Chris. Yes, Betsy.
With our new facilities manager and knowing some of the challenges that we experience in the church, is there a thought down the road to maybe have kind of a systematic plan of maintenance and kind of thinking, years forward of what we need to kind of budget for or look for to keep the building up and operating and beautiful?
Yes, absolutely. And I saw Chantal nodding behind you. One of the things that Maurice is tasked with is how not to just show up, but to keep this building, I'd say, moving forward into the future. When he got here, he immediately identified a number of things, such as that folks are already working on. One other thing I didn't mention is the Energy Efficiency Task Force that's happening this year. Another thing that is headed by Mike Rutkowski. And thinking about solar, thinking about, the fact that we have fans and wall units here, things like that. He immediately identified a number of those. Issues in the chapel. We need to look at the floors in the chapel and things like that. And so getting a boiler contract. So asking a lot of the same questions that David had been asking, the facilities and others had been asking. And now that we have him, the capacity of the church has grown so much in being able to get those things done. So right now, the big things that he's working on are floors, doors, and ceilings, we call it. And so thinking about security for our doors. Right now, how many of you have a key? Even if you don't, how many of you know how to get in? Yeah. And we have space users that come in and use the space. There's an issue with, we have a construction crew upstairs. Our doors are just deadbolts. And there's frequently, security and entry control issues. So that was one thing that Maurice identified immediately, and was, and of course, David has been telling us forever that we need to work on. So he's identifying contractors for that. The answer is yes. He's extremely motivated. I do hope you guys get a chance to talk to him. He sees this as a mission and a ministry. He is a preaching member of his own church. He also works at Shiloh Baptist, which is a historic church in downtown DC. And he gets church, and he does not see this as simply a job, which is really exciting. But also we pair that with, knowledge and motivation. So I'm really excited to see Maurice grow into this job. Thank you. Yes.
How are we doing on rental space use? Is that up, down, even, who are we running to?
Yeah, so we had some ups and some downs this year. We have said goodbye to Montessori, the district Montessori, after over 10 years, I believe. And so that's a chunk that has been taken out of our income. However, we've overperformed on other space use rentals, and right now in the works is getting another Montessori school into the chapel. Updates are going to be needed for the chapel in order to do that. We're running into some questions on, fire mark code and other things like that. I think very important, necessary updates, which would of course delay having somebody else in there. So that is going to be a consideration in the, I'd say, 2024 budget. But this year, because of the fact that we were pretty prudent in budgeting how much we get from the chapel, and other things have outperformed it, we're still, and Mike, I haven't looked at these numbers recently, but we are still, I think, pretty much on track for the budget year. But we will need to get somebody else to rent in the coming year. I'll add one more thing to that. Elder Clara Gillespie, our space use elder, has been working to bring our space use kind of into the 21st century, comparing our prices to comparable church, other space users and renters, and has been able to improve the contracting and the whole process. She's improved our website, and has also increased some of the rents because some of them hadn't been increased in a good while. And so that was one thing that was able to help us make up some of that gap. And we anticipate that whoever rents the chapel in the future will be renting at a more competitive rate than we had been offering before. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay, then I think, are there any online questions? Okay. Well, I think we all have time to stretch and get ready for worship, but let's close in prayer. Holy God, we ask that you guide us as we enter this new program year. We ask that you help us to be who you have made us to be, that we continue to be open-hearted, to value community, to value all people, and to grow in our faith. I thank you for each one who is gathered here in person and online, and I ask that you be with our congregation as a whole and our community as a whole. Help us to be faithful to you and help us to be good neighbors to those who are in our lives. We ask that you bless our coming worship, and then we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you guys for another good year.
Thank you.